Welcome back. A news conference is set today for the federal government's automatic budget.
Joining us to talk about that and so much more is California Congressman Scott Peters. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
That's not the only thing we're going to talk about today.
I get it.
Got a full plate for you.
Let's start with that, though. You're holding a news conference.
Well, you know, when we go back in September, the government runs out of money at the end of September under our continuing resolution. We have to deal with the budget. One of the things we want to end are these automatic budget cuts from the sequester. So every line item getting cut. What's happening is that we're making cuts which are probably important, but we're not doing it around the mission. So it's frustrating when I go out, and I went to a talk at a Poway temple a few months ago. A guy comes up to me, he's probably about 60 years old, says, I've been laid off because of the sequester cuts. And, his wife comes up to me and says, you got to do something about it. We have to pay for our daughter's education. We have to think about a retirement. My husband's older. He can't get another job. Right. And that kind of thing might happen as a result of cuts, but you want it to be focused on the mission, not just automatic across the board. And so we would like to get back to real budgeting. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to try to engage San Diegans in pushing that with us.
Okay, San Diegans, though, unfortunately are engaged in another discussion. I don't know if you've heard about it or not, Congressman. What is your take on the very latest with Mayor Filner?
Well, first of all, this is a very, very sorry episode in our city's history. And, I was one of the first. I called Bob. When we first heard that this stuff was coming out, and I'm friends with one of the women who was going to talk later that week. Mm-hmm. She called me. I called Bob. I said, you have to resign. This is not going to work out well. Call me back. Let's figure out a way for you to do this with dignity with some honor for the contributions you made. Obviously, we all wish he had called me back and resigned then, and we'd avoided all this. But we've been through a month of this. This week we were on the cover of the New York Times, not for being a leader in defense technology or alternative energy or the greatest place to visit or the greatest weather. We were on the cover of the New York Times for this. And so some promising news yesterday that they may have reached an agreement that the City Council will consider on Friday. And I think nothing could be better than to get it behind us.
You served as City Council President. What's the Council going through right now, particularly Todd Gloria? He's going to be acting mayor if this happens.
Well, the hard thing for the council is that whatever comes out of this deal is going to be unsatisfactory. People are angry at Bob Filner, but he's not. You can't expect that he's going to just admit guilt.
Right.
So he's negotiated some settlement where he's going to get something. He's going to get some legal fees covered. He's going to get some protection against prosecutions. But that's the price of us getting him out. So I would just encourage people to step back and say, listen, if this is what we have to do to get him to move on, that's what we're going to need to do, because they're going to consider a deal on Friday. They have to vote to approve it. It's not an approved deal. It's only a deal that's come out of mediation or our mediation so that they can consider it and approve it. I hope that they'll approve something reasonable. The main thing for us has to be to get Bob Filner off on his own time, getting his own help, us as a city moving on and finding someone else who can provide leadership.
And do you think San Diego's reputation is going to be able to recover quickly after this?
I do. Every time I'm on the plane and people ask, where I'm from, I say San Diego. They feel great about San Diego. I think the reputation of San Diego around the country is increasingly that we're a technology hub and a great place for business, the military, a great place to visit. We had a great forum this week, too. Again, people are talking about Mr. Filner, but we had a great forum with Steny Hoyer, the #2 Democrat in Congress, came in and talked to leaders in the technology business about how we can support the innovation economy here in San Diego. In Washington, we had 300 people, standing room only. That's what San Diego's about. We're going to get this behind us, and it'll just be a bad bar joke.
There's a lot of talk and rumors going on that your opponent, if this all happens with the mayor, may pull out of your race. We're talking about Carl DeMaio here, and run for mayor. What are you hearing? What's the vibe in your camp?
Well, Carl hasn't called me.
I didn't think so.
Look, I'm going to have an opponent next year. My focus really is, I've only been in seven months, right? My focus is to try to do the best job I can for San Diego. And my theory is that if I do a good job, San Diegans will reelect me. And I don't know who the opponent will be, but it'll be somebody. And if it's Mr. DeMaio, we'll have a good discussion. But I'm really kind of trying to focus on the election next year and trying to do my job.
It's been a whirlwind of 7 months, hasn't it?
It's been a lot, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's always good to be back. It's always great to be in San Diego.
We're glad to see you here today. Thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate it. Still